Support for WCBU's On Deck comes from Jaguar Land Rover Peoria on Allen Road, providing personalized service with every certified pre-owned Land Rover. Benefits include a 165-point inspection and a 1-year unlimited mile warranty. More at jaguarlandroverpeoria.com.
A Peoria resident is seeking help with a bill after a drunk driver crashed into her home. That's just one of the things you'll want to hear about to start your day for Wednesday, June 5th. I'm Colin Shope, and this is WCBU's On Deck. First on deck today, Peoria City Manager Patrick Urich says 3 local projects may get millions in funding assistance through requests by the area's representatives in the U.S. House. WCBU's Joe Deacon reports.
Urich says the city is hoping to put $1.6 million in federal money toward upgrading the intersection of Northmore Road and University Street. Democratic U.S. Representative Eric Sorensen is seeking the funding as one of his congressionally directed spending requests. Urich says the money would eliminate the need to use local motor fuel tax proceeds for the project.
For the people that travel on that, they know that as you get to that intersection, there's some challenging pavement, I'll say, in that area, and this would allow us to do a complete reconstruct.
The plan calls for dedicated right turn lanes, dual left turn lanes, new sidewalks, and a multi-use path. Republican Congressman Darren LaHood has 2 Peoria projects among his funding requests. Among those is $1 million to assist development of the Galena Road Industrial Park. Urich says that money would be for purchasing property for the development, where they've recently created a TIF district.
We're looking and in discussions with the water company about acquiring 55 acres from them to look at creating a business park. And this would, the $1 million would go towards land acquisition.
LaHood's other request for the Peoria area is $1.5 million for a project to upgrade Radnor Road. For WCBU's On Deck, I'm Joe Deacon.
Here are some other stories we're following in the WCBU newsroom. Illinois Democrats are betting that increasing taxes on certain forms of gambling will pay off for the state in next year's budget. And the cost of a proposed new evidence storage building for the Washington Police Department has soared past the $2 million mark. You can find more of these stories and all the details at WCBU.org. On the evening of Saturday, August 13th, 2022, a red Ford F-150 careened across a yard and crashed into a home after crashing into another vehicle and veering off the roadway in the 400 block of East Republic Street in Peoria. Police reports show the driver called the vehicle in as stolen shortly after, but an investigation would find her later admitting to operating the truck with a blood alcohol content of .179. Jamisha Hudson lives in the house this truck crashed into.
I thought it was a prank at first, and they were just like, yeah, somebody hit your house. And I was like, there's no way possible. Like, I think you may have the wrong house because I'm in the middle of this block.
Hudson had been out to dinner with her daughter and a friend when the crash happened. She says she sped up just a bit on the way home, anticipating the extent of the damage. Then she saw the porch.
When I pulled up, I just broke down. I started crying. I was screaming because I was like, what the heck? You know, I didn't know the damage to the inside of the house. All I saw was just the porch completely collapsed.
Later, reflecting on the night, Hudson is grateful she'd chosen to go out. She says she and her daughter frequently sat in the front room of the house during the evenings.
When the porch fell down, they broke our window, so we could have been sitting right here. Everything could have collapsed, and it could have just been this really traumatizing event for my daughter specifically.
Shortly after, the city of Peoria performed an inspection of the damage. Community Development Director Joe Doolin says this is standard anytime there's an incident like a house fire or a car crash.
And if we feel the kind of structural stability poses a risk to the public, then we have a few different course of actions. You know, when it's to an entire structure, we sometimes do an emergency demolition, but we try to save as much of the structure as possible.
In the case of Hudson's home, this meant an emergency demolition of what remained of the porch overhang. Today, you can still see the stripped wood from where the top of the porch connected to the house. Doolin says decisions like these are made in the name of safety.
Really, it's about minimizing the danger that the public may face if they come into contact that or if they collapse any further.
What followed for Hudson was a bill from the city viewed by WCBU. The bill, with an invoice date of November 2022, shows a total of nearly $3,670 for the demolition. Hudson says she's a single mother, and prioritizing bills for necessities meant she didn't have home insurance at the time.
I didn't realize how much of a priority it was because I was like, well, I got to pay, my electric, my water. I have to pay all these other things. And now I have it because I'm like, oh, shoot, I'll never go through that again. But I mean, it's kind of a little too late. One of those lessons you had to learn the hard way.
Doolin explains that in the case of using a contractor for an emergency demolition like this, it is the standard for the bill to go to the property owner.
That's where they go through their homeowner's insurance, or sometimes it's a civil matter between who caused the dispute to find who's ultimately responsible for the bill. But as far as we're concerned, with where the damage was done into the property where the work occurred is where we submit the bill to start with.
Hudson reached out to a few different places for help. She contacted the Peoria Citizens Committee for Economic Opportunity. She reached out to her city council representative. She explored neighborhood redevelopment programs through the city. These programs were either too broad or too limited to assist in her very specific situation. 3rd District Council Representative Tim Riggenbach was contacted by WCBU for this story, and he referred back to community development. Hudson explored legal action against the drunk driver with private attorneys, but isn't sure the driver has any income of their own. In the meantime, fees have piled on the bill.
They've sent us multiple bills regarding the situation instead of just sending it. And I understand it's like the city, but send it to her. Like, she's the one that did it. Like, I don't understand why it's my responsibility, but I guess I'm the homeowner, so I understand that.
A more recent bill viewed by WCBU totals almost $5,000. It was also sent by a collections agency, which city officials tell WCBU is an automatic process. Hudson has been encouraged to reach out to the city's legal department directly and explore options to get the situation resolved. Almost 2 years later, Jamisha might now have a chance to relieve the financial burden of a crash that changed the face of her home through no fault of her own. Now, before we let you go, the Bach Festival 2024 continues today with an opportunity to learn about the composer's Chorale Cantata Cycle. A lecture on the cycle's 300th anniversary is 12:05 p.m. today at Westminster Presbyterian Church. And that's all for today. You can subscribe to WCBU's On Deck podcast on the NPR app, Apple, or Spotify.